Hey, how you doing? My name is Ryan, and today I'm designing and printing LEGO Marvel villain minifigures. While superheroes get the minifigure spotlight, villains often get the short end of the stick. Some make it to retail like Thanos, Vulture, and Hela, while most never get the LEGO treatment. That changes today with the help of some purist customs and some originally designed pieces. Starting with phase 1, I think we are long overdue for a minifigure of General Ross. We might get this figure when LEGO makes a Captain America Brave New World set, but I kinda want Thunderbolt Ross now. So let's make a custom torso based on his appearance in the LEGO Marvel video game. However, I'm making his jacket dark blue instead of light blue. First, I'll tweak the lapel and tie, which honestly took me way too long to do. Part of that is due to the visibility, as I keep my computer screen on a pretty low brightness setting, and trying to find black lines on a dark blue torso can be tough. So sometimes I have to change the lapel lines to yellow to make them easier to see, then tweak and adjust the shapes, roundness, and curves of the lapel jacket before finally turning them back to black. Next, I'll add some pockets and golden buttons before tackling Ross's display of military pins and medallions. Starting off with a checkerboard of squares, I'll randomly change the colors of a few of them to make the array seem visually unique, but not going overboard as to confuse or overwhelm the eye. Remember, these small squares will be even smaller when printed on a minifigure torso. That's one of the caveats of using a LEGO video game character model as reference, as they'll always appear bigger on screen than in real life. With the torso done, let's tackle the other pieces. The face I'm pulling from an older J. Jonah Jameson figure, the legs are just dark blue legs, and for the hair, I'm going with this dark blue police cap. And there you have it, a custom General Thunderbolt Ross minifigure based on his appearance in the Incredible Hulk movie. Now, a lot of the other Phase 1 villains thankfully already have minifigures of them. You have Obadiah Stane, Anton Vanko, Justin Hammer, Red Skull, and Loki. So let's move on to phase 2. And one movie that I think is criminally underrated with the amount of minifigure villains we have is Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Sure, we have Bucky himself and Alexander Pierce, but we are missing a lot of the undercover S.H.I.E.L.D. / Hydra agents from that movie. Some of them I've already tackled in previous videos like Agent Sitwell or Agent Rumlow, pre-Crossbones transformation. But how about a member of the Hydra strike team like Agent Jack Rollins? You might not know the character's name, but perhaps you recognize the actor's face. Callan Mulvey is a character actor best known for his work in Zero Dark 30, 300, and even Batman v Superman. But given the character's, let's say, lessened popularity, I'm going to opt for a purist custom for this figure. The face I'll pull from the original Man of Steel Superman minifigure. I'll use Ethan Hunt's torso from Mission Impossible. However, I'll swap out the arms for these from a LEGO employee. I'll use this slick back hair in dark brown, and you end up with a pretty menacing and subdued Hydra agent. And looking at all of these undercover Hydra agents together, Alexander Pierce just kind of feels off. I've already mentioned it before, but you can improve this figure very easily by swapping out the face for that of Gilderoy Lockhart from Harry Potter. And now Pierce looks a bit more sly and cunning rather than overtly maniacal. Now, the only other big Phase 2 villain that has not appeared yet in minifigure form is Malekith the Dark Elf from Thor the Dark World. However, I might save him for a future video as he'll require a lot of custom pieces for me to design and print. So let's move on to Phase 3, and a character I have been dying to see in minifigure form is Ego the Living Planet from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And while I've seen some solid purist customs online, I think Ego is in need of a custom torso. Starting off with a blank tan torso, I'll first lay out the belt and this 2-layered silver buckle on the side. I'll go back and add all the highlights, which are these lighter gray slanted rectangles. Next, I'm making all of these random shapes to add texture to Ego's belt, almost like a rock wall, before laying out the basic shapes of the crossbody belt. This larger element also gets an interior lining, which I really hope isn't too thin and still readable when small, as well as a silver buckle on the end and even a second layer of belt underneath the rounded bulge. Next, I'm fleshing out these silver accents on each side of the torso, which can be broken down into a dark gray trapezoid with some rounded silver elements squeezed inside. Last big element to add is the top crossbody belt, which continues the inner lining. But all that is just half the battle, as Ego's torso is littered with these intricate patterning and line detailing. So first I'm creating the pathway for each pattern, then building the basic shapes and ensuring they are evenly spaced before copying and pasting the pattern over and over again. But I still need to go back and adjust the angle of each notch to follow the flow and direction of the pattern. And with that, the torso is done, and we can focus on the other pieces, like the head, which will be Alan Grant from Jurassic World Dominion, this swept back tousled hair in dark gray, T'Challa's Star-Lord legs, and finishing off this figure is a custom side cape from capesforminifigs.com. I love the way this turned out, and I'm so happy with this Ego minifigure. And if you like the way this figure turned out and you want to print your own version of any of the artwork I'm making in this video, you can access the designs for free in the description box down below. Just insert the password HeyHey, all lowercase, no spaces. And a lot of you guys have been asking for a more detailed breakdown as to how to actually print your own minifigure torsos, so let's go through that process now. Say I wanted to print a copy of my Mobius figure with a custom head, torso, and tile accessory piece. First, I'll go into my Google Drive artwork hub and find the PNG folder. Then I'll locate the PNG for Mobius's head, his torso, and the tile of the tempad. Download all three right onto your computer. Then you'll hop over to minifigs.me to buy the printed pieces. And each of these parts, the head, the torso, and the accessory, have their own listings, so let's go through each one at a time. We'll start first with the head. You're going to want to find what's called the bespoke head option. Now, caveat here, because of the way this process works, the bespoke head option is not always in stock, so you'll have to check kind of regularly. Because the designers at minifigs.me, when they get an order for a bespoke head, they'll go through and tweak the design to make sure it's the highest possible quality when printed on a head. If the bespoke head is in stock, you'll make the head light nougat and upload your PNG file from Mobius's head. Then hit add to cart. For the torso, it's a little bit easier because we're only printing on one side. So we can use the Your Image on a Minifigure Torso item listing, find the color torso we want, in this case reddish brown, and upload our PNG file of Mobius's torso design. And after popping the torso into the cart, we can now tackle the tempad. We want to find the Your Image on a Tile listing and select the size and color tile we want. And just like the last two times, upload your artwork, the tempad PNG file, and add the cart. Then you check out and wait for your custom items to arrive in the mail. It's really that easy, and you can use my link in the description box down below to get a discount at minifigs.me. Now back to the custom villains, and another Phase 3 baddie that was completely ignored was the villain from Captain Marvel, and I'll give everyone a second or two to remember his name. It's Yon-Rogg. And while I don't think Yon-Rogg merits an original design, certainly a purist custom can do him justice. This one's pretty easy to make. The base of it is the Kree uniform from the Captain Marvel polybag. We have an angry face from a LexCorp employee, and this brown Widow's Peak hairdo. And while the character was kind of forgettable, the figure is pretty accurate. Okay, time for Phase 4 and a much more impactful villain with Kingpin. And after making his MCU debut in Hawkeye, a lot of people were thrilled we finally got Kingpin's red Hawaiian shirt. I think that's a look that's perfect for a custom minifigure. I'll start with the torso design from Agent Coulson, as it's just so ubiquitous from a design layout standpoint, and I'll change the jacket to white, change the lapel and pocket lines to light gray, remove the tie, change the shirt to red, change the shirt wrinkle lines to dark red, and tweak the lapel shape. For the shirt collar, I'm actually redrawing that entirely, as this is one of the first figures whose shirt collar folds onto the outside of the jacket. With a few white buttons going up the shirt's middle, the main layout is done, but the hardest part is just beginning, adding the floral print onto the shirt itself. Taking inspiration from what looks like a Hawaiian bowling shirt, I'm tracing over the flower pattern, inner flower cutout, and the two petals and leaves to make my base shape. Then I'm copying and pasting that a bunch of times, resizing and rotating each one to make it feel authentic, and lowering the opacity of all the flowers for better visibility. Then I'm going back and adding the outline of the shirt and collar so the shapes are cut off by the jacket outline. That way the pattern stays confined onto the shirt and doesn't spill over onto the jacket. I think this torso design turned out pretty fantastic, and with Tom Riddle's face and some white legs, this Kingpin minifigure is complete. But the MCU Crime Lord is just one of the groups vying for screen time within Phase 4. Another kind of vile evil group is Damage Control, which was first seen in Spider-Man Homecoming, but then made a more antagonistic turn in Spider-Man No Way Home and then Ms. Marvel. This should be a pretty easy custom torso to make. I'll start off again with Agent Coulson's torso, as it looks like most agents in the MCU look alike. However, I'm changing the shirt color to white, the shirt wrinkle lines to light gray, I'm flipping the tie pattern, tweaking the lapel lines to read more like a tracksuit jacket instead of a business suit, and adding a zipper to the bottom corner to emphasize that difference even further. Oh, and I'm making the tie color dark blue. Then it's time to add the Department of Damage Control logo and the ID badge, which starts out as a rounded rectangle with a silver clip. For the logo, I'm using a basic bold font and then adjusting the character width to best match the original. Then I'm adding this line and circle element to the O to complete the logo look. Now the logo appears twice, once on the jacket and once on the ID card, with the latter element also getting some fake text and color lines to flesh out the look. I'll top off the character with Snap Wesley's head from Star Wars, a swept back hairpiece in black, and black legs. And while this damage control agent was pretty easy to make, an even easier villain to make in minifigure form is Arthur Harrow from Moon Knight, as you can make a really convincing custom figure using only pre-existing pieces. All you'll need is Ron Weasley's dark red sweater, some dark red legs, this old snowtrooper head with these lovely bags under his eyes, and old Luke Skywalker's hair. This is one of those figures that makes me reevaluate how upset I get when LEGO reuses parts for different figures because, yeah, you can certainly reincorporate various elements from different franchises to make a brand new figure. I guess I really only get the most upset when LEGO reuses the same pieces for two characters within the same universe, like Wenwu and Loki for example, although they did eventually update Loki's face to make him more accurate to Tom Hiddleston. Okay, with two easy Marvel villain minifigures out of the way, how about a design challenge? How about Titania from She-Hulk? Now, this was the torso I was most afraid of designing because I had to make one torso feel like three different fabrics, with the jacket, the corset underneath, and the frills. First, I'll tackle the jacket lapel, which is this long, curved bright yellow shape. I'll take a few different stabs at the design by looking at both sides of the lapel, tweaking one side, copying and pasting and flipping the revised shape and seeing if the art is improved. Eventually, I get to a shaping that I like, so I move on to some of the dark gray line work around the edges of the jacket. Now onto the fringes at the bottom and top of the corset-like shirt. I'll trace over this Oktoberfest torso design because I think the fur can read as fringes without going too small with the detail. I'll add this in white to the top and bottom with a gray outline for greater visibility on the black torso. Then I'll add a block of nougat for Titania's skin and make sure the lapel outline is black on the inside to contrast the skin tone, but dark gray on the outside to contrast the jacket. I'll also put a dark gray shadow on the top for the fringes before tackling this multi-layered pearl necklace, which just boils down to a bunch of circles. And finally, in order to visually separate the jacket from the inner shirt, I'm adding some thin dark gray lining to give the shirt a different texture. Hopefully, from afar, this will slightly lighten the black shirt and give some nice contrast to the jacket. And as terrified as I was to take on this torso, I am really proud how it turned out. And I think this figure needs some pretty unique pieces to match the quality of the torso. So I'll use Barbara Gordon's head from the LEGO Batman movie, this Friends mini doll hair in red, which thankfully all the Friends mini doll hairs fit on minifigures really nicely. Then I'll add these legs from the CMFC Rescuer figure and this custom skirt piece from capesforminifigs.com. And I am thrilled with how this figure turned out. Titania is evil, but also playful and fashionable, and I think this figure captures all those elements. I have one final Phase 4 villain to make, this time from Werewolf by Night, Verussa Bloodstone, the matriarch of the Monster Hunter family. Verussa will be a purist custom comprising of Harry Potter's Death Eater robes, Professor McGonagall's head, and Aunt May's hair. Even though we did get the eponymous Werewolf by Night himself in the Marvel CMF Series 2, I don't think we'll ever get any of the Bloodstone minifigures, so I'm glad I finally have this character to add to my collection. And with that, we've now hit Phase 5, and one character I've been working on in the background for a while now is Kang. I've been tweaking the design for this character, mainly the torso and legs, and I think this latest iteration is my best one yet. Full of detail, but clean and concise as a design, not too overwhelming on the eyes. And that's great and all, but I don't know how much longer we'll have Kang even in the MCU. So did I just waste months of time designing a character that won't even be relevant by the time Secret Wars comes out? No, it's not really wasted time. I think the minifigure turned out really nicely, but I'm not going to design any more custom parts for Kang or any of his variants until I know he plays a big part in Marvel's future. However, it's very easy to make a good purist custom of one of Kang's most famous variants, He Who Remains. First, take Professor McGonagall's torso from Harry Potter and replace the arms with dark purple arms. I'm pulling mine from T'Challa Star-Lord. Then, I'm adding Goliath's head from the Marvel CMF series and the legs from the CMF Rogue minifigure. Finally, add Finn's hair from Star Wars, as well as this custom graduation piece in dark purple, and you have a really nice and rather cheap He Who Remains custom minifigure. And with a lot of Phase 5 being mediocre so far, I think purist customs are the ways to go for these last two villains. Up first is Gravik from Secret Invasion. This figure is comprised of Franklin Webb's body and legs from Jurassic World, an ACU Trooper's head, and T'Challa Star-Lord's hair. Now, you could argue that Gravik is so bad, not villainous mind you, but bad, that he doesn't even deserve a figure version of him, but if I'm being thorough, I probably should include Gravik in my collection. That being said, I'm only spent about $4 on this figure, so worth it in the end. And the last purist custom I'm making from Phase 5 is Dar-Ben from the Marvels. She uses Vicky Vale's torso and legs, this Hoth Rebel Trooper's head, and this white hairpiece. Again, the argument could be made about this character having a spot in my collection, but they did make a Lego set based on the Marvels with the Hoopty. It wasn't a good set, mind you, but the minifigures were pretty solid, and I think Dar-Ben does look rather nice side by side those characters. And there you have it, a slew of new custom LEGO Marvel villain minifigures to add to any superhero collection. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What's your favorite Marvel villain and which character should I design next? I am working on Malekith, it's just taking me a while. And again, you can download any of the art files for any character I've made in this video or previous videos in the link in the description box down below with the password HeyHey. All lowercase, no spaces. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.